Good morning, everybody. Hanin Zouabi is an Israeli Arab politician, currently a member of the Israeli Knesset from the Arab Joint List and a member of the third largest party in the Knesset with 13 representatives. Ms. Zouabi is serving in the Knesset since 2009, and she is the first Arab woman to be elected to Israel's parliament on an Arab party's list representing the Balad party. She was re-elected in 2013 as a member of the Joint List. Zouabi is also an advocate of the one-state solution, believing that the two-state solution has been bypassed by facts on the ground. Her visit with us is also timely given the mass protests we are seeing on the Gaza-Israeli border and with, of course, more reports of deaths today. Hanin Zouabi, a warm welcome to the UN Correspondents Association, and I will now allow you to make an opening statement.
Thank you very much. I first of all will begin by thanking the Unca and by thanking the President for being here with us. And it's an opportunity for us because usually the story of the Palestinians within Israel is not a known story. By saying a Palestinian cause, we usually talk about the West Bank, the occupation, the Gaza Strip, the siege, but we forget the 1,200,000 Palestinians now who constitute 18% of Israel, whom Israel didn't expel in 1948. Israel has expelled my people in 1948, expelled 80% of the Palestinians, destroyed more than 500 villages and towns, and here I am maybe the fourth generation of the Palestinians whom Israel didn't expel. We identify ourselves as Palestinians because we are Palestinians. Israel, of course, doesn't recognize us as Palestinians. We must, according to the Israeli perception, call ourselves Arab Israeli, Muslims maybe, and Christians and Jews, but not to identify ourselves as part of the Palestinian people, and of course deny our special relationship with our homeland, Palestine, which Israel now defined the state as a Jewish and democratic state. This is actually basic problem that we think that there is a contradiction, and there is a contradiction between defining the state as a Jewish state and at the same time defining it as a democratic state. There is an inherent contradiction between being Jewish state and be democratic state. I supposed to be the indication of the Israel democracy. Well, I am a representative of my people within the Israeli Knesset, and here Israel has a free election, and there are 13 Knesset members within the Arab joint list within the Knesset, but actually Israel is trying to define the political laws of the game within Israel to marginalize our political effect. We are 13 out of 120. Israel, with us or without us, can pass more than 90 racist laws within the Knesset, 13, because the definition of democracy within Israel is the tyranny of the majority. The majority can pass laws, the majority can run the state. There is no guarantee for equality. There is no laws to guarantee basic. And I am not talking about the Palestinians whom Israel is killing in West Bank and Gaza Strip. I am talking about citizens. Citizenship was not a strategy of empowering us, was not a framework of rights. It was a strategy to tame us. So we can speak, let Israel speak about itself, if it is a democratic or a racist state. Let 95 laws confiscating my land, not letting me study my history within the schools while we are paying taxes for the Ministry of Education, loyalty laws. In Israel, there is a law under the title of Admission Committee Laws, which prohibit Palestinians from living within more than 570 community villages. Of course, the law doesn't use the expression Palestinian. It uses the excuse of anyone. The acceptance committee law can deny access because of disturbing social harmony. And because of that, we are denying, it is an apartheid law actually, and I don't think it is convincing when Israel is angry about journalists and about others why we are using the word apartheid, because it is not we, it is the Israeli law. Just take a look about for this law. I am a Knesset member. But of course, we couldn't, as I said, we couldn't prevent passing this law. And in order to marginalize more and more our political efficiency, Israel has passed just 1 year ago the anti-terror law, which can criminalize also cases about statement of empathy to the Palestinian struggle. We can talk and we must talk about the law, the expulsion. I cannot find it here, but the expulsion law. The expulsion law, which has been passed to July 2016, allows a majority of 90 Knesset members to host serving MK for the full period of the Knesset remaining term. The law stipulates that the statements of the suspect MK will be examined, not only by their aims or action, but also by their ideological and political consideration. So I have been elected by 500,000 Palestinians, 90 Knesset members, 90 Zionist Knesset members can just end my serving within the Knesset. If I have more times, I would maybe talk about loyalty law, which according to ideological and political attitudes, Israel can suspend budget, can prevent budgets from institutions, from cultural institution and cultural activity if they are not loyal to Israel as a democratic and Jewish state. So even the ideological statement, the ideological vision of my party, that we are struggling for a state for all of its citizens, even within the region of 1948, within the borders, of the official borders of Israel, our vision that we need the state to be a state for all of its citizens. This is the only meaning we understand for democracy. I think this is the only meaning you understand for democracy. Just by saying that, we become disloyal to Israel, because loyalty in Israel is not to respect laws. Even I am an MK, I cannot respect laws. I must change laws which are racist, laws which are discriminative. I must change them. But loyalty, the definition of loyalty in Israel is to be loyal to Zionism, to be loyal to ideology, and not just to respect the laws or trying by democratic, legitimate way to change the laws. So I am a Palestinian. I am expected to be loyal to Zionism, while the only meaning of Zionism is to deny my rights and to deny my identity. And I would say, and this would be my last sentence, first of all, we are loyal to human values. We are loyal to equality, and we think that Israel is disloyal to equality. Israel is disloyal to justice. Israel is loyal to racism and discrimination, and we should fight against them. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Zouabi, thank you for that opening statement. I'm going to kick off the questions. I'm with South African Broadcasting. Can you talk a bit about your trip to the United States, what your goals are on this visit? And, you know, we are at the United Nations, the Secretary General, many countries here still avow the two-state solution. What's your message to them?
Our message to them that by encouraging justice, you must make, first of all, by saying that the negotiation is the tool for justice, you must first of all recognize Israel as accountable to its crimes against the Palestinians. Israel is not interested in negotiation because Israel is not interested in peace. I am a member of the Knesset, you would not hear the word negotiation, you would not hear the word two-state solution, you would not even feel any recognition of Israel that it is an occupier. First of all, if you must force Israel and make it, you must force Israel in order to reach the conclusion that peace and justice, it is one of its interests. Till now, Israel, and more, not till now, is not accountable of its crimes. It doesn't pay the price of occupation. It doesn't pay the price of the siege. It doesn't pay the price of oppression. I cannot say even that the problem is occupation. I cannot say it. We stopped to say that the problem is occupation. Since the siege and the resist wall, we started to say that the problem is the priceless occupation. How easy it is to oppress the Palestinians, how easy it is to kill 16 Palestinians during a peaceful march in Gaza, and at the end using the discourse of balance between the Palestinians and Israel. You want peace? Don't talk about two equal sides. You want peace? Recognize Israel as an occupier and recognize the Palestinians as the victims. But Israel is so... there is a normal life within the Knesset, a very normal life within Israel, while they are putting 2 million Palestinians within the biggest jail in the world. It's a normality. It is absurd. Maybe not in the UN, but you must come to Israel to see how absurding the scene of normality while you are occupying and you are putting 2 million into a siege, you are expanding settlements and at the same time talking about peace. How come? There is facts. Let the facts must speak about themselves. Facts, Israel has expanded settlements since 1995, since Oslo. Israel has increased the number of settlers. Is this the fact or not? Israel is controlling Gaza, the borders of Gaza, without freedom of movement, without 95% the pollution of the water. The UN report said that Gaza is not a normal, has no normal conditions for human rights. Is it the fact that Israel controls Gaza or not? Is it the fact that Israel is occupied or not? But the UN even and the international community doesn't use this discourse of you are conducting crimes against humanity. You are killing one Palestinian, according to Amnesty, every 3.6 years. You are oppressing. You are putting 700 children under detention every year, every single year. You are saying that you are in danger while you have Israeli soldiers with guns confronting a Palestinian youth 12 years old with a knife. You can control him and control the knife. It is not logical to say I must shoot him in order to defend myself. Israel is not defending itself. And the daily press releases of the United Nations that we are reading, Israel has the right to defend itself. Okay, but is Israel defending itself? This is the question. Is occupation an act of defending the self? Is the siege an act of defending the self? Is what is happening now, today in Gaza, is an act of defending Israel, or it is an act of terrorism, of killing the willingness of the Palestinians? Israel, now you have a popular resistance. People, also children, want to resist, want to put an end to the siege. So the Israel resist and Israel killing Palestinian, not because it is putting the soldiers into danger. It doesn't put anyone into danger. The children of Gaza just doesn't want to be killed in a silent way without any recognition from the world. They are sending a message that we are under a siege and we must do something. And this something is just to march in a popular way to remind the people about this siege. I was in Marmara. The message of Marmara, the flotilla, free Gaza flotilla, was not to end the siege, to break the silence upon the siege. And our problem is the silence of the international community. Again, how easy, how priceless is this oppression, and how at the end we got a press release from the United Nations. Both sides, all parties should avoid confrontation. Is it an act of confrontation, or is it an act of freedom, this march? Do you believe in any legitimacy for the Palestinians to free themselves? Is there any legal way to free myself, more civilian legal, more non-violent legal than BDS, which Israel recognized as an act of terror, and peaceful march, which Israel recognized as an act of terror? This is our message. You must make Israel accountable to its crime, and Israel is not, and this is the problem. And you cannot solve this by saying, come to negotiate.
Quickly, why are you in the States? Very quickly.
To tell the story and to have a special and a direct contact with the American public opinion, because we know the strength of the Israeli lobby here. We know the strategy of terrifying the Americans and of even terrifying the Europeans, claiming, but after a small criticism, that you are anti-Semitics. You are anti-Semitics. Sometimes we feel that we should liberate the Americans and the Europeans from the political terrorism of the Zionist lobby. So
please introduce yourselves and the organization. Ali?
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Hani.
My name is Ali Barada from Al-Sharq Al-Awsat newspaper and from France 24. One is, as we recognize your anger towards what's going on the ground, what is your view regarding what's happening in Gaza? What do you want the United Nations and the American government to do in this regard specifically? And I am interested in whether you recognize the two-state solution, or you feel as an Arab Israeli that the one-state solution is a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Should I answer this? First of all, the march in Gaza is a peaceful march. We want this march to succeed by continue its activities with putting restriction upon the Israelis, restriction not to kill the Palestinian. I think that popular resistance is the only way that the Palestinians can free themselves. We ask the United Nations not to use direct discourse, demanding the Israelis to stop killing the Palestinians and really recognize the 16 or now maybe 18 Palestinians who were killed as victims of the Israeli violence, to recognize that the only side which is violent right now is the Israeli side. And again, to stop trying to manipulate a kind of diplomatic discourse, because this is what makes Israel more violent. We think that this kind of discourse, that everything the Palestinians do is a violent, without giving them any space, as I said, to peaceful. And this is a peaceful. And don't stop saying, I think the journalists, the United Nations, should stop saying, don't put the children into a risk. Well, the Palestinian children are into a risk since 10 years ago. They already are dying within Gaza. Israel has bombed Gaza before 4 years, killing 500 children. These children, if they didn't make anything, they will die because of lack of food, lack of services, lack of health services. So we demand a very clear position from the United Nations to investigate the Israeli killings of the because I didn't follow the 21. I didn't follow the news during these 2 days to have an investigation and to make Israel accountable and to say in a very clear statement, Israel is violating the international law. Israel is killing the Palestinians. It is a peaceful act of struggle. It is the legitimacy, even the duty, not just the right, it is the duty of the Palestinians to have this popular resistance, this popular act, this popular march. I think that the West Bank should also join the Palestinians within the West Bank, because Israel will not reach by itself the conclusion to end occupation. You must force it in your legitimate resistance, which the whole international community can identify it. You must force Israel to reach the conclusion by making again Israel pay the price of its crimes. What to expect from the American government? Nothing. To stop its blindness and racist full support to Israel, even when Israel is killing the Palestinians. To be loyal to the values of the United Nations. This is what we demand the United Nations.
There are a lot of hands. Sorry, there are a lot of hands. I'm going to try and.
For me, I don't care 2 or 1 actually, because for me, we care for justice. Even when you are talking about 2-state solution, you cannot have justice solution by having one of these 2 states as a Jewish state. Both the 2-state solution should be a democratic states. So it is not the end of the struggle by saying, okay, we will have Israel beside Palestine. The 2 states should be states for all of their citizens. Jewish state is a racist state.
All right, there are a number of hands. I want to move as quickly as possible. Ibtisam, please.
Hi, my name is Ibtisam Azim from Al Arab Al Jadid newspaper. My question is, or I have a follow-up question. I mean, at the beginning you said you prefer to have or you don't see any future for 2-state solution because of facts on the ground. If I'm wrong, please correct me. My question is actually, would you elaborate about your situation as a Palestinian citizen of Israel, the attacks where you sometimes even verbally and physically attacked, things that you face as a Knesset member and as so-called citizen, and talk a little bit more about the situation of Palestinians in Israel and how, I know you touched upon it at the beginning, but if you could give some examples. Thank you.
Actually, I never declared that. Because of the facts upon the ground, it's more difficult. I said this, it is more difficult to have 2 states, but the solution is the 1 state. I think the solution is to concentrate now upon ending occupation and upon ending the siege and talking about civil rights equality, also national equality between the 2 people who are living there, and also civic equality between them. Whether to have these values of civic rights and national rights, full equality, to cancel the privileges of the Jewish on the expense of the Palestinians, to have a really democracy for all of citizens. If we implement these values, we can implement these values within 2 states or within 1 state. I don't think this is what matters. What matters for me is liberation and justice for my people. What matters for me is to end this strategy and this suffering and daily suffering of the Palestinians, and not to concentrate about the occupation. Really to analyze this false statement that Israel is a democratic state. This is so strategically important because whatever you are asking the Israelis, they should say to you, but we are a democracy which is defending itself. No, you are not democracy. You have a anti-family unification law. You deny Palestinian family to live together. You confiscate even the land, and this is about the Palestinians' reality within Israel. You confiscate even my land, my private land within official potential Israel. Israel is not just expanding the settlements. Israel till now has expanded 86% of our land. Israel is now trying to evacuate 25,000 Palestinians from the Negev, south of Israel, destroying 5 Palestinian villages within Israel, and building upon the same small area 5 Jewish. So it is an apartheid when you destroy cities, villages, and even houses for the Palestinians in order to build for the Jewish. And when we ask the ministers in the Knesset, why you are doing so? The Negev is 12 million dunums. Why you are, it is half of Palestine. Why you are targeting the 800,000 kilometers? They will give you a very frank answer, different from the answer they will give you here in the UN. Well, we are a Jewish state, and we must secure the Jewish identity of the Negev. But I am an indigenous people. I didn't immigrate to Israel. It was Israel who decided to immigrate to me. So you came to me not in order to live with me. You came to me in order to replace me. You coming here in order to confiscate my land and to have maximum land with minimum Palestinians. This is the name of the game. This is not the game of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It is the game even within the borders of Israel. We are living now above 2% of our land, although we are 18%. 53% of the Palestinians within Israel are under poverty line. The average income of the Jewish family is 3 times the average income of the Palestinian family. So, and here we cannot even, as I said to you, we must be loyal. It is a humiliation to even to address us as you must be loyal to Zionism. You should give us legitimacy that this is a Jewish state, meaning you have no place, not just as citizen, as indigenous people. You don't have any real connection to this. It is a way of colonialist thinking, the perception of a colonialist that perceive you as an invader. And this is also a statement, you can hear it inside the Knesset. Well, you are invaders. So the Palestinians, whom Israel again came to me in 1948, expelled my people, I become an invader in the perception of the Israeli society. 55%, according to the Israeli researchers, doesn't believe in equality, and they believe on Jewish values, even on the expense of democratic values.
Happy with that answer? Sure, quickly.
Thank you, Madam. The answers can be shorter because
Yeah, there's so many questions, so if you can make your answers. Okay. Yeah, I just want to say that Sherwin is a citizen of South Africa, and you are a citizen of Israel. And these 2 countries were strategic allies during apartheid. So what can you learn from the experience of South Africa when they got themselves rid of apartheid, and they struggled for so many years until they became free? 1 man, 1 vote. Can you elaborate on that?
Great question.
Of course. In spite of not just the similarities of the 2 state policies, I would say that South Africa couldn't pass these laws that Israel has passed. I would say that racism and oppression within Israel is not comparable to racist laws within Africa. In spite of this, the international community doesn't treat Israel as it treated South Africa. It was because of the sanctions, because a very clear international attitude that you are violating international laws. You cannot be a normal member of the international community. Well, the international community doesn't say this to Israel. But okay, so you have these 2 comparable, similar situation, but you have a total different reactions toward these 2 states. And this is what I think. Don't wait for an internal Israeli dynamics. It will not change. Well, what changes in Israel? Israel has become a fascist. You can speak about fascist laws within Israel. Now Israel is transforming from racist situation to a fascist situation. And you please enter these laws in order not to say that Hanin is anti-Semitic. No, it is the laws we are speaking about. So we need the same international attitude toward Israel. Sanctions for Israel and making again Israel accountable to its crimes.
Nizar Frank Stefano.
Thank you. Although I wish to, if you can answer in Arabic. My question is regarding, you are trying here to convert.
I wish to answer in Arabic.
Yeah, probably you can do that. I need a soundbite in Arabic, of course, for my channel. I'm Nizar Aboud of Al Mayadeen Television, and we are covering what's happening in Gaza live, like many other stations. My question is regarding, you are trying to convert people here to believe in the Palestinian issue, whereas the real people who need conversion are some Arab capitals. Many of the Arab capitals nowadays speak louder as Zionists more than Netanyahu himself.
Yeah.
Even Netanyahu welcomed Mohammed bin Salman's statement about the right of Israel to exist. And he was really surprised that it comes from him. So my question here, why don't you try or put some effort to go to these capitals and speak to them, because we have enough resolutions here. Yeah, we have enough resolutions in the United Nations that safeguard the inalienable rights of the Palestinians. I need a small soundbite in Arabic, and the answer you can answer in English, but please be brief. Thank you.
This is the hardest question. Okay, first of all, I think that the international community is a very important player in this. I don't ask international community to support the Palestinians. I ask them to support their own values. Actually, we don't need anyone to love the Palestinians. We need people just to act according to the values they are claiming to have, and they are claiming to believe in, and they are claiming to adopt. I know that the problem of the Palestinians is the whole Arab policies, which not anymore maybe recognize Israel as the hostile side in the region, and they have their own agenda. For me, they don't reflect, of course, they don't reflect the Arab public opinion, and I think actually, even taking into consideration the hard situation in the Arab world and the fact that the Arab world doesn't support the Palestinian cause, and having normal now, more and more normal relations with Israel, we should count upon ourselves as Palestinians. And this is الأهمية الاستراتيجية والورقة القوية للقضية الفلسطينية هي الشعب الفلسطيني. نحن علينا أن نعتمد على أنفسنا كشعب، وعندها نجبر الآخرين على تغيير مواقفهم. نحن نعلم أن جزء من المشكلة هي موقف العالم العربي، هي موقف بعض الأنظمة العربية على رأسها السعودية ومصر والإمارات، وأنها الآن لا تعتبر حتى إسرائيل الحلقة العدائية في المنطقة، وتريد أن تجند جهودها السياسية من أجل اعتبار إيران العدو في المنطقة. نحن نعرف أن هذا جزء من المشكلة، وهذا يضعف الموقف الفلسطيني. في النهاية الشعب الفلسطيني عليه أن يحمل نضاله، الشعب الفلسطيني يستطيع أن يحمل هذا النضال، ونحن علينا الآن أن نعرف كيف نؤثر على الرأي العام العالمي، ليس لكي يتضامن عاطفيا مع الشعب الفلسطيني، بل لكي يؤيد قيمه هو، ولكي يجعل إسرائيل تدفع ثمن جرائمها. المشكلة أن إسرائيل لا تدفع ثمن جرائمها. الشعب الفلسطيني عليه أن يتوحد، عليه أن ينهي الانقسام، عليه أن يعيد بلورة مشروعه الوطني الفلسطيني، ويعيد بناء منظمة التحرير الفلسطينية. هذه هي أوراق القوة التي لا نستعملها، علينا أن نستعملها عندها. سترى العالم العربي يغير من مواقفه، وسترى تغييرا أيضا في مواقف التضامن الدولية.
Hi there, Your Excellency. Frank Uciardo from TRT World. Two questions. One, what went through your heart and mind at the very moment that Donald Trump announced that Jerusalem was going to be the capital of Israel as recognized by the United States? And two, you're sitting here addressing us here at the UN, and I find it a little ironic that, of course, the Perm Rep from Israel is Danny Danon, at one point being in the Knesset, and he apparently was trying to get you thrown out of the Knesset. Can you talk about that?
Well, it is ironically, yeah. First of all, about recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Of course, this is for us denying of basic rights of the Palestinians to have Jerusalem as their own capital, violating the international law which recognizes Jerusalem as an occupied state, and giving more green light to Israel in Judaizing Jerusalem, and even expelling the Palestinian citizens from the city, from the municipality of Jerusalem, and Judaizing more and more settlements, Jewish settlements within Jerusalem. It will affect the easiness of the Israeli policies into expanding the settlements and in oppressing the Palestinians within Jerusalem. And it gives a very clear political message that Israel, you can continue violating the international law within Jerusalem. And I think it's also making pressure upon the members of the United Nations, and we are following the daily American pressure of the ambassador of the United States here in the United Nations, the pressure she is doing to other, and even if humiliating other representatives within the United Nations, and its own agenda is to defend Israel. This is the only, we would say that this is the only agenda of the ambassador of the United States in the United Nations. So the irony that Danny Danon here tried to disqualify me and to expel me from the Knesset. The ethical committee in the Knesset has expelled me 3 times. First time for 6 months, the other time, this is the democratic state, for political statements. So I have been expelled 4 times for more than 1.5 years. If you count the months, out of 9 years, 1.5 I was expelled because of my political opinion, supporting the Palestinian rights. And this is a daily, what to say about this? This is our daily practice. You may hear this and being surprised. Knesset members are being expelled. Yes, 1/4 of the joint list, which is now 13 members, has been expelled from the Knesset. And you have this expulsion of Amkaz, which saying again, 90 Knesset member can expel us totally. I can be elected by 500,000 and 90 Knesset members can expel me. So it is to يفرغ, to empty, undermine the elections, the law of elections. There's no meaning if because of my political points I can't be.
Stefano. Oh, sorry. Then you, Alex.
Hello, this is Stefano Vaccara, La Voce di New York and Radio Radicale in Rome. We all know that the Palestinian issue is the oldest problem here at the United Nations, and is all still unresolved. So when something cannot be resolved, or is not being, after 70 years, is being still hanging there, and we don't see any light something went wrong, and to just see, how you say, the responsibility all on one side.
Just move the mic down, away from you. Down, yeah.
I think he's end up to be useless, because then we're going to have another 70 years here talking about the Palestinian issue. So in order to be more like looking at how to resolve the issue, the question before about South Africa, I think was very, very important. South Africa resolved its issue, because South Africa wanted to be a democracy, couldn't. You say because sanctions.
Question.
The question is, this week is Martin Luther King 50th anniversary of his death, and he fought for non-violence. He knew that democracy cannot survive if the opponent is totally non-violent. Same thing was with Gandhi in India. Great Britain was a big power, I think even stronger than Israel at the time. So my question is, what if all the Palestinians that in these days protesting and give excuse to Israeli soldiers to shoot, even if they shouldn't. I agree with you. They shouldn't shoot the kids. But what if a whole Israeli go on the floor, stay there, starving, 1 day, 10 days, 20 days? Do you think the Israeli, a democracy, with the CNN camera, everybody there, you think could survive?
Okay, I agree with you. And I totally agree with you. I don't know why you recognize our proposal of a democratic state as a violent proposal. This is our vision. Our political vision is a democratic state for all of its citizens. It is Israel who is violent against us. Expelling me from the Knesset is an act of violence. Not my struggle for democracy is not an act of violence. And those thousands who are marching now, are they violent? If you follow the statement of the ministers, Israeli ministers like Lieberman, he said it from the beginning, we will not let this march continue. There was a very clear Israeli policy and decision to stop the march, not because it is a violent march, especially because they expected it to be a non-violent march. In Israel, there is no violent, legitimate way of the Palestinians to resist. You can you can demonstrate, just demonstrate and be killed by the Israelis. And this is a non-violent. Are demonstration a violent tool? No. And the Palestinians try to demonstrate, and they are being killed within every single demonstration. Not just the Palestinians in the West Bank, the Palestinian citizens who marched after the Second Intifada 2000, October 2000, supporting the Second Intifada. We have been killed by the Israeli police, 13 of us. We even didn't have stones in our hand. We have nothing in our hands. Israel is threatened, you are right. Israel is threatened by this non-violence. And because of that, Israel is aware of what you are saying. They want to stop the march before accumulating power and accumulating international support. They want to put an end to the demonstration. And this is why they even have qannasa. Snipers. It was an Israeli policy to put snipers before the demonstration. So it doesn't count. For the Israelis, it doesn't count. You are violent. BDS. Can you identify the BDS as a violent strategy? It is not a violent strategy, but Israel has passed 3 laws against the BDS, preventing BDS supporters from entering Israel. So Israel doesn't differentiate, and this is so crucial to understand Israel, and this is so crucial to understand that what you are describing is what Israel is trying to prevent. It is not what the Palestinians are trying to prevent. The Palestinians want to accumulate power to this peaceful march, but they have been killed because of their peaceful tools and strategy.
Point made. Alex.
Hi, thank you. Alex Hassanain from the Tokyo Shimbun. So Israel doesn't seem to respond to statements of condemnation. Aside from political condemnation, what can the international community to hold Israel accountable? And 2, in media sound bites, I often hear Israelis refer to Arab Palestinians as their cousins.
Hold the mic down.
Oh.
Yeah.
I often hear Israelis refer to Arab Palestinians as their cousins. As an English speaker, the term cousin sounds friendly, but I usually hear this term used negatively and having almost a racist connotation. Is there a way that perceived common origin and familial ties can be used to create a new national inclusive identity instead of Zionism?
Okay. What to be done? I will repeat, maybe I was so clear in even my long answers. A clear recognition of Israel as violating law. Again, even if Palestinian has some responsibility, you can't treat both sides as equal. And this is the discourse of the international community, especially the diplomatic discourse, to treat them equally. Israel is so sensitive to its image as a democratic state. Let me say this for you as one who is living within the Israeli society. So sensitive. It needs this legitimacy. It's so powerful, but power is not enough. You need power and legitimacy.
So Israel needs this legitimacy that you recognize it as a normal state which defends itself. Stop recognizing the policies of Israel as a legitimate policies toward the Palestinians. Stop recognize them as a legitimate policies for a state which defending itself. Say to Israel, send a clear message to Israel, no, by siege, you are not defending yourself. You are conducting crimes against humanity. No, by occupying, you are not defending itself. By expanding settlements, you are not defending yourself. It is a totally a pure policy of hostility, policy of oppression, policy of aggression. Send this clear message. It will affect the Israeli public opinion because they starve for legitimacy. It's a political sensitive message, and this is what we are doing here. I am a politician. I don't have gun. I never have a gun. Even I never throw a stone. But for them, I am a terrorist. Because of this political discourse of delegitimating the policies of Israel, delegitimating Zionism as a racist ideology, said to Israel by Judaizing geography, history, confiscating land, killing people, you are not a normal state and you should be account to your crimes. Send this clear message to Israel, then things will change. You will help us by this.
Edie.
Thank you very much. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. I wonder if you could respond to two things that happened today during the protests. First, the Hamas leader in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar, he visited the Kuza camp and told supporters, quote, "We are going to Jerusalem, millions of martyrs. The world should wait for our great move when we breach the borders and pray at Al-Aqsa." And secondly, in response to the Palestinian contention that these protests are peaceful, the Israeli military said today that protesters on Friday hurled several explosive devices and firebombs under cover of smoke.
Okay.
So I wonder if you could respond, your reaction to both of those.
Okay. The general context of the march is a peaceful march. And by this, you should recognize it as a peaceful march. The Israeli policies toward the march has been decided before these actions and regardless of these actions. And you cannot just now pay attention and conclude what is the Israeli policies toward the Palestinians. You can follow the Israeli policies day by day within Jerusalem, within the West Bank. You can see how Israel has just invent accusations in order to kill the Palestinians, in order to break the courage of the Palestinians. This is an Israeli strategy. The whole context of thousands of people is a peaceful context. You cannot say no. And by these actions of individual, you cannot say that the march has transformed from a peaceful strategy to a violent strategy. Okay, burning, I don't see what kind of violence by burning tires. Can you, by burning tires, you are describing burning tires as a violent? But guns to the demonstration is not violent? This is a peaceful. It's 100% peaceful, and explosion of what? They are tens of kilometers away from the border. Explosion that will hurt who? Whom have been hurt? Give me one Israeli who have been hurt from these actions. Can you name one children, one Israeli? No, you cannot. It is the Israeli discourse which really make us fool. Just by terrifying and using violence. What? Tell me what is violence with this march? burning and doing what? They don't have anything to be violent. And the total context is a peaceful contest. Again, I see these kind of problems as par this kind of question. By putting the margins of the scene into the center as if it is the center of the scene, part of the Israeli propaganda. Stop following the Israeli the Israeli agenda of the Israeli agenda and the Israeli discourse. Say you are occupier, you should end your occupation, and not by ethical discourse. I'm sorry. By ethical discourse, we cannot convince the Israelis against by making Israel accountable to its crimes and by resisting.
We have 10 minutes left, so.
And on the march on the Hamas leaders
To go
to go
toward Jerusalem. Okay, it is a desire to go towards Jerusalem. It is also, I think, a peaceful statement. Yes, we need millions of Palestinians to go to march to Jerusalem. Yes, we need this. Yes, it is the ambitious, but they cannot do this because the Israelis will kill them. It is to give a sort of peaceful vision. It reinforces the peaceful vision of the march. I don't see what's the problem. We must persist. This is how I understand this sentence. We must persist.
Okay. Sia?
Persistent Thaber. Persist.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sia from Scan News. Sia from Scan News. Myself, I'm against occupation and pro one-state solution. But if you look at the Israelis 60 years ago, it was a very small communities. Now it's a very, very powerful country or very powerful society. Yeah. Where Palestinians went wrong? Thank you.
Since they believed in Oslo, that Israel is really ready to justice peace. And since they try 20 years negotiation, while Israel was negotiation function as an umbrella to a peaceful occupation, to more easy occupation. And while Israel we stopped to use the word occupation and we started to talk about two sides. Since we stopped realizing the struggle of the Palestinian as a struggle for freedom and started to treat it as a struggle for a state. I want freedom. First of all, talk about occupation, not about borders. It is not a diplomatic discourse. Since we transform the discourse from a discourse of liberation against occupier to a diplomatic discourse about borders, and you make you treated the two sides not as occupier and occupied, but as two states. This diplomatic discourse is the reason for the tragedy of the Palestinian today.
Thank you very much. My name is Masood Haider. I represent Daily Dawn newspaper of Pakistan. I just want to ask you a simple question, not too detailed. One is, can you speak a little bit more about your arrest and what do you call it, expulsion from Knesset by the Israeli government? And the other one is about the children of Palestine who are being constantly incarcerated by the Israeli authorities all the time, and at the pretext that they are being used.
Palestinian?
Yeah, by the Israelis, the Palestinian children, at the pretext that they are being used as human shields. So can you please tell us what is the real fact? What is it that the Israelis are doing to incarcerate the children, keep them in jail, and do you know how many Israeli children, Palestinian children are in Israeli jails?
Okay. Now I think 148 Palestinian children are in the Israeli jails. every year Israel detends 700 Palestinian children every year, targeting these 700 every year. Under both children, 700 children under detention. Yeah, under detention. But I didn't understand your question about. Okay, actually, I don't know why I feel my story is not worth to tell. Yani, after Marmara, first of all, after Marmara, all the incitement began. The incitement was, again, according to the Israeli perception, I should be loyal to even the aggression of the state, and even the term, my loyalty to my people is an act of terrorism. The head of the Israeli intelligence, recognized our struggle for a democracy as a strategic threat. So, my point, that it is not violence which is threatening Israel. I agree with you. It is our struggle for democracy which is threatening Israel. And we, the Palestinians within Israel, the Amcas, the political party within the Knesset, are the indication, the proof that what is threatening Israel is real struggle for democracy. Because of that, Israel is so determined in killing not just protesters and breaking the willing of the Palestinians, but in killing our struggle by making this law, by incitement, by recognizing us as strategic threat. And this is what Diskin, the head of the Israeli intelligence, described us in 2008. Those among the Arab Israelis who doesn't recognize Israel as a Jewish and democratic state, we say it is a contradictory term. It's a contradictory definition. Yes, we want to struggle for a normal state for its citizens. He said, those who don't recognize Israel as a Jewish and democratic state are a strategic threat, and we should behave to answer this challenge in the right way.
I don't see any more hands. I have one more question just to wrap this up. What are your expectations as an Israeli citizen, right? What are your expectations of Israeli citizens in Israel on this issue? Because, in South Africa, as much as the sanctions were important, it was also dependent on people struggling on the ground within the country. So how do you convince the majority in Israel to side with you? Because often power dynamics can change if it starts at the bottom.
Okay, we cannot convince the Israelis to accept the BDS and to accept the sanctions and to struggle with us for democracy, because most of the Israelis are Zionists. There is no one party within the Knesset which is not Zionist. All the anti-Zionists either boycott the Knesset, the few thousands anti-Zionists within Israel, either boycott the Knesset or they vote for the Arab parties. And you have just Zionist party within the Knesset. According to in Israeli statistics, 55% of the Israelis doesn't believe in democracy. This is the statistics of the Israeli Institute for Democracy. You can Google this. And they make a yearly poll. 55% doesn't believe in democratic values. 55% prefer to have a Jewish state rather than a democratic state. So now they are saying what we have said since 20 years ago, that there is a contradiction between Jewish values and democratic values. We choose democratic values. The Israeli society choose Jewish values. So, as I said, change will not come from within. This was for us, a very important message. We want people to understand Israel. You cannot end occupation without understanding Israel. Please understand Israel. Not just defend the Palestinians. Defend us, but understand Israel. By understanding Israel, you will hear the warns of Israeli journalists, of Israeli anti-Zionists who said we become a fascist, we become a fascist society by this kind of attitudes and by this kind of values and political opinion. So no, change will not come from within. Change will come from you recognizing the Palestinians' legitimacy for resistance. The Palestinians resist according to international law, and BDS and make Israel accountable to its crimes. We cannot invent a wheel. This is how people all around the world has freed themselves.
Hanin, I will say this to conclude, that the substance aside, the politics aside, it's always interesting having someone as passionate as you are. It makes this job much easier, and people are not falling asleep in their chairs. So I thank you for that. Hanin Zouabi from the Israeli Knesset. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very much.
My pleasure.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Shukran.
I'm not sure if I was clear in the question. Sometimes, in the world of camera,